Hello, all, and welcome back to another episode of Real Talk. I am your host, Officer Antoine Thomas. That's me. You're looking at it. I like to take this time, as I often and always do, actually, and say thank you to all the listeners out there in podcast world, all the folks who are subscribing, who are sharing the message, who are tuning in. Appreciate that. Keep that going. We have a lot of good content. And again, on the Real Talk, we talk straight facts. Now, fourth season is here. Okay, episode 3. We just finished up with that. We are wrapping up now where we get ready to take off with a bang. I know I always say bang. I love that word. I'm a cop. Let me have that word. At the end of the day, taking off with a bang. And if you had not had the opportunity to listen to the latest episode that was released this morning on Spotify, Apple, all that stuff, we talked about Chicago. Chicago has exceeded its 500th murder. I would imagine now, when I put this show together, it was about a week or two ago. I'm sure, unfortunately, there has been more deaths, homicides, and we have to really talk about it. It's black on black crime. I mean, we have to, but Black lives do matter. We know that. But also listen to that show. You'll find out that at the end of the day, does Black lives really matter? But that's not what we're here today to talk about, because you have to go back and listen to it on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple, all those things. And you'll find out that Chicago is being ruined and run by a person who is a what we call a dictator, a person who is a leftist, a woman who is pushing all of her ideologies and her wrongs on the city of Chicago. Who is that? That's Lord Lightfoot. But this show is not about Lord, so I want to move on. Now, here in our virtual studio today, I have a very special guest. Okay, this gentleman I have on air, he is a fellow church member. He is soon to be a Wake County judge, and I'm excited about it. I've had the pleasure of watching, I can say young man because he's a little bit younger than me. We're close in age. This brother, I won't even say young man, but he is a young man. But I got to pay him respect because soon he's going to be judged. This brother here in the studio, I had an opportunity to watch him grow up, had an opportunity to just watch him start a family, have kids, and he's left me behind. I know, Asia, I'm coming. I got to get married first, got to have kids. I'm getting up there, but we're going to do it. We're, we're going to do it. Look, I'm going to shut up in a moment because I want this wonderful brother to be able to explain his whole entire platform if he so chooses. If he has kids, so he may have to get off air. But I'm here up until Asia says, I had enough. I definitely cannot take the credit for his success, but I will say, growing up, Asia, do you remember you and a couple other the young brothers? You all would glean to me somehow and kind of hang out with me. Not that I really mentored the way for you, but I recall that, and I was talking to my sister about it a while back ago, as she serves in our youth ministry at church. And let me tell you something: my parents and my sister thinks very highly of you. I know my sister and your mother are good friends, and we're all proud of you, Asia. We're
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. You got a good family.
you
Very
got
supportive. Appreciate it.
absolutely you got a wonderful family, and your wife is amazing. She is doing extraordinary things in the dentistry profession. So we're very grateful for what your mother and father has been able to do with God's grace and mercy and help. But I will move on because I don't want you to start crying on the show today. That's not what we want. Okay. But what we do want everybody to know that today I want to like to formally welcome to the show Asia Prince. Mr. Prince, how are you doing on this beautiful day?
I am doing well. I appreciate the opportunity and thank you for giving this platform to come on and talk about my campaign and my platform. I truly appreciate it.
I'm excited that you agreed to do it. I would be remiss if I would close out the election without having you on the show. And I want everybody who's listening to share this, get out and vote. Mr. Prince is going to be able to tell you exactly the areas that he'll be focusing on as far as his district. But I also want to throw a disclaimer in there. Unfortunately, you hear Mr. Prince by recorder on the cell phone due to some technical difficulties, but we believe in making things work. Agent said, how about a phone call? And that's what we're doing. So you may see that something's lagging with him speaking and it getting to the screen. That's because he's on phone. And we're going to do it because nothing's stopping this show today. Asia, I'm going to be quiet in a moment, but these next few weeks, okay, these next few weeks, 2 days away from our early voting for midterm elections, it is a big um, 2 weeks here in North Carolina coming, but every state does it differently. But I would say nationally, it is a big election. It all is on the line. It all matters. Super Tuesday, November the 8th, is the general election day. And I believe that everybody needs to get out and vote. I obviously am endorsing Mr. Prince, our former Wake County Sheriff, who is bidding for his seat back. Dunny Harrison has endorsed Asia Prince. He has done events with Mr. Harrison, and we're excited about the future. I look forward to seeing Mr. Prince in his black robe. I look forward to being at his swearing in. But I'm going to digress. And Mr. Prince, if I've left anything out as it pertains to that, please fill in the gaps. And I would like you also within that time to tell the listeners about who you are, my friend.
Yeah, I don't think you left anything out. I think this definitely is a big election, especially here in North Carolina. We have your Senate seat that's up, as well as several seats on the courts. The two Supreme Court justice seats are up. 4 or 5 seats are up in the Court of Appeals, local district court races, the General Assembly. All the members are up for that. You got school boards. So there's a lot of important races that are going on. So it's important for everybody to get out and to look into the candidates and to go out and vote, whether going early voting or on election day. So just a little bit about me. Grew up here in Wake County from Holly Springs. Went to Middle Creek High School. That's where I met my wife, Chanel. So we've been married for 8 years now. So we live here. It's been wonderful 8 years. We live here in Holly Springs with our two boys, Solomon, who's 3, and Noah, who's 2. So they definitely keep us busy, but I definitely love it. Went to UNCG for undergrad, majored in business administration, and then went to UNC Chapel Hill for law school. And from there, just kind of took off with my legal career.
Well, you're doing amazing things, and I got to say, I know those two fellas very well. They are wonderful, excited to be alive, young men, powerful names, Noah and Solomon. What better two names could you have chosen? And again, I talked about the family; it's beautiful. And Asia, your stint working in the criminal justice and as it pertains to law is a beautiful thing. I understand, and I know this because I've heard you say it. I also heard him say it. Our North Carolina Supreme Court Chief Justice is your personal mentor. Am I correct about that?
He is. So actually, I met Chief Justice Newby back in 2011. Um, right before I was going into law school, he was at Upper Room um,
Mm-hmm.
with a larger group visiting that one Sunday, maybe a couple weeks before I was starting law school. And so just went up to him, introduced myself, told him I was going to Carolina for law school. And that day he offered me an internship on the spot. And so he's a great guy. Took him up on that offer. Interned with him in 2012. And this from there, just kind of stayed in contact with him and kind of kept building that relationship with him. Um, when I got out of law school, kind of figuring out what I was going to do. I'll tell you, he has some form or fashion. He has been involved with many of the positions that I've had, with recommendations. You know, I think about my time at the U.S. Attorney's Office, just kind of how the Lord works and pushes you on people's hearts and minds when you don't even know it. I remember coming back from Jamaica, family vacation. We got back and landed. When I got back, I had uh, a voice message from him asking me to give him a call, wanted me to send him my resume because there was a position over at the U.S. Attorney's Office that he thought that I would be good to fill. And so just kind of uh, from there, even in my current role now at the administrative office of the course, I get the opportunity to work under his leadership. So yeah, Chief Justice Newby is an amazing man. Truly loves the Lord. His wife Megan, she's a wonderful woman of God as well. They've truly been a mentor to not only me but to Chanel and really so many other individuals. Every other week, Justice Newby has a men's Bible study where he mentors and we study the Word of God with attorneys. Started off with attorneys when I started to do about 8 years ago. Now it's kind of working to some men from other professions. But it's really he's been truly a blessing in my life. And a great jurist as well.
I love it. I think that is very important that we have those mentorships and people that can pave the way. Because again, no one can do it by themselves, and we all need some type of leadership, and we also need some type of help in getting to where we need to be. And that was a big accomplishment. And I know that he has personally endorsed you. That is a big endorsement. And we know with God's grace and mercy and help that you will be our next judge. Now, you are bidding for the seat of district court judge in the district of 10F Frank, I like to say, as in the letter. Tell those wonderful listeners, first of all, what type of seat are you running for back to the judgeship? And then we'll follow up with the district. Tell them what that covers and all those things.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm running for district court judge, and so that's here in Wake County. And I think there are 19 or 20 district court judges who sit in Wake County. And so Wake County is one of the districts where they're one of the counties where we're broken up into smaller districts. I used to mention I'm in District 10F, so that's the western part of the Wake County. So that's Mooresville, Weston Cary, Apex, Holly Springs, and just one or two of the precincts in the Fuquay area. Mm-hmm. So even though we sit in districts, we run in districts, we hear cases for the entire county. So even if you don't live in my district, you could still come before me.
I love it. I love it. I'm listening to, and I'm totally listening to everything you're saying. I am trying to listen to our live we have now to make sure that we actually give me a second here. We're doing things live. I want to make sure I'm hearing you from this end. I got you on Facebook now. Okay. We are in. Asia, say something really quick.
Can you hear me now? How's the sound?
Let's take 1 second. Okay, it's very low, but it is doing the job. We got to do what we have to do to make things work. And so we're back at it. So you heard that he's running the areas of Fuquay, Holly Springs, Apex, Cary, Morrisville. Did I miss any of those?
I'm sorry, what was those again?
You have Fuquay, Morrisville, Apex, Holly Springs.
Yeah, Holly Springs and Weston Cary.
And Weston Cary.
Yes.
Absolutely. And to all the Fuquay, mostly, I would say, well, all of the Fuquay Varina residents, if you don't vote for Asia Prince, you're in trouble. I was a Fuquay cop there for 3.5 years. I know how to get you a ticket. So I need you to I am putting force upon you. And no, this is not the quick pro quo. I am just telling you, you have to vote for this man. He's amazing. But we do want to move on. What makes you qualify for this position, in your humble opinion, Mr. Asia?
My variety of experience. So I started my legal career off at the North Carolina Industrial Commission. And so that is the state agency that hears and adjudicates worker comp cases for the entire state. So I worked in a quasi-judicial role, hearing motions for termination of benefits, review settlement agreements, as well as motions for treatment. I spent about 2 years serving in a leadership role. I'm going to try to put some headphones on to see if you can hear me better. This one. Thank God for a good wife.
Hey, guess what? I'm glad she's. Thank you very much for being back there. We're trying our best now. Work with us. We're trying our best, everybody. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Okay, sounds good. So yeah, I spent at the Industrial Commission my last 2 years there. I served on the senior leadership team as the director of our claims division. From there, I transitioned to the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Eastern District of North Carolina, where I served as an assistant U.S. attorney in our civil division. I worked to collect restitution for victims of crimes, handled some bankruptcy work, handled a variety of civil matters representing the United States, from employment discrimination to contract disputes to some frivolous claims. And then I also worked to keep individuals who have been deemed sexually dangerous in prison, as well as work in our drug treatment court here in the Eastern District. And from there, and most recently, I've been working at the North Carolina Administrative Office of the Courts. And so that's the administrative side of our judicial branch, serving on the senior leadership team as the director of our court programs division. And so my division works to provide aid and support to court staff and to judges across the state to ensure that everyone who appears in the courts receive justice. And so many of those things that we do it, try to do it in a less adversarial way. So, some of the programs that we handle and work with are our child custody mediation, domestic violence, our recovery courts, which there are 63 recovery courts across the state, including drug treatment courts, adult drug treatment courts, mental health courts, veteran treatment courts. Um, and so this, I feel like those different things, I have experience practicing in both federal and state courts. So I think those are things that I think makes me qualify for being on the bench.
I'm not saying this because we're personal friends, but you have an extensive background resume at a young age. You've been able to do great things, and we know we're like minded in our Christianity faith. We know that was all due to God, but I can say working from the criminal justice standpoint as a law enforcement officer and actually working in the courts protecting the judges and attorneys in the room, I can tell you that, and you know this, and if I'm wrong, you tell me on air, most attorneys, they either move over to the judgeship and run from the prosecution side of the personal defense side. They've never actually worked in those areas of administrative court, which is a big role because you look at those are the courts, if I'm wrong, that sets the guidelines and the ramifications for how you all um, rule and make decisions. Obviously, the law is the law, but you have to have some procedures in front of you to follow. And I would imagine y'all are the ones that present those policies.
Yeah, so we help some of the policies. Oddly enough, a lot of the policies are locally driven. So the
Mm.
chief justice, he's over the judicial branch, and so he's able to elect who the chief district court judge or select who the chief district court judges in each district, and he's able to kind of put out his priorities when it comes to funding. But a lot of the things are actually locally driven by the judges.
Mm.
That's one of the things that we kind of always talk about when we're talking with other organizations when they want us to kind of do something. We can't tell our judges to do anything, but we can definitely advocate for certain things. Um, but I mean, I think working at the administrative office, of course, I feel like it's really given me it's a kind of opened my horizons as to actually how the courts function. And every day, kind of understanding the budgets, kind of understanding the different things that go into to holding court.
Very important things, and you got a chance to see it from the. I like to use the phrase all the time from the back end of it. The behind the scenes, and then you're able to, with your experience, bring that into the courts. So that is a huge accomplishment. I had to throw it out there so people know that your experience, like you stated, is, in my opinion, is very wide range, and all those things will play into the courtroom as you reflect back on different policies and things that may pop in your head that you dealt with. You said some very important things. You talked about adult drug court, and I had the opportunity as a deputy to work that courtroom. Very important that you have a judge who, like we said, and I got to go back for a moment. I never, and I always do this. I never told everybody the title of the show. This show today is entitled "A Fair and Impartial Judge." Why did I just remember that from what I'm about to say? You have to be fair and impartial as it pertains to any type of case that you're hearing, but when it comes to those drugs, you have to show a little bit of empathy. I know that we had an amazing judge there. You know her, Jennifer Knox, who unfortunately lost her seat back in 2018, I believe it was. But she spent a lot of time in drug court, adult court, as you know. And you need someone that's has empathy, somebody who's strong, because these people are coming in there. Some are still high, some are relapsing, some are just repeat. But you got to be able to rule with a tight fist, but also with love and compassion. And I'm just throwing it out there and just her do it. And I know that when your time comes around to work that court, you will bring the same type of atmosphere and personality to it. So I wanted to say that because it's the show. Valerie says, "Hey, Valerie," she says she can't hear Asia. I know we're having difficulties because I couldn't get him on volume for some reason. Everybody else that's been on the show these last few weeks have worked out perfect. And the devil, we got to blame the devil. I told Asia for this one. Try to come up in our podcast because we need this information to get out. Asia has tons of different things. We're going to give out his website, but if you can't hear us, work through it. And if I need to repeat anything Asia says, I look forward to doing it. But today is all about Asia. But as it continues on, Asia, what are some of the functions and responsibilities? If you can break it down, most don't know what a judge actually their job performance is.
Yeah, so I'll say just kind of our judicial branch as a whole. So our judicial branch, we're made up of two levels. You have your trial level and your appellate level. So trial level is your district court judges. Um, you have your judicial court level, then you have your superior court judges, your appellate judges, including your court of appeals, and then the North Carolina Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
So the level I'm running for is the district court level. And so district court judges, they hear cases relating to family matters. So that's your divorce, child custody disputes, your child welfare matters involving your DSS cases, juvenile delinquency cases, your criminal matters, including misdemeanor matters, DWI, and other traffic matters, and as well as civil matters that are under $25,000. And then kind of going to your superior court, those are your felonies, and then civil matters over $25,000. And then if anyone wants to appeal, they go to the Court of Appeals, and then from there they would go to North Carolina Supreme Court.
That is the end all be all at the North Carolina level, and I guess some people make it out to the federal level. They go out there, they're able to appeal these cases from the appellate court. Then the highest of them all, which someday, Judge Prince, someday, someday you may never know. He may be seated on the United States Supreme Court, aka SCOTUS. But God has plenty of things in store for us, and I like to always say that yes, we are still young. So there's many great things that will come and can come. So we look forward to that. But that's what that is as a judge. So a big, huge decision. Of course, there's cases sometimes where the judge doesn't rule in. Mr. Prince, and I could be getting confused. When exactly, or what type of cases? Not to throw you on the spot. When are those cases in effect? When a judge doesn't have that role of making that decision? Is it at the felony level? At when you see like murder cases, a jury comes in. How is a jury chosen? Is that after the fact they committed a charge that requires a grand jury first, or?
Yeah, so your felony charges, they have to be involved. A grand jury has to indict somebody when you're dealing with felony charges. So there has to be some type of probable cause. Once the grand jury brings the indictment, or you agree that indictment should be issued, then the DA can issue the indictment, and that's when the criminal process would start. And then so whether or not, you know, whether or not someone goes to a jury trial or whether or not they have a trial before a judge, that's up to the defendant in that particular case what they want. But everyone has the right to a jury trial.
Everyone has a right to it because our Constitution says we have a right to it.
That's
But
right.
most times, Mr. Agent, what I see a lot more times, you all on the judge level are involved. So we need people that are very important to that makeup. And I'm not, again, I know I keep throwing it out the age, but age, in my opinion, does have something to do with it because as you look at it, obviously, Mr. Prince is not a leftist, so he wouldn't rule. He's not into defunding the police and saying, everybody should just go free. But he is, and I'm speaking for him, and I'll let him talk more about it. But I know for a fact that he would bring all his experience, knowledge, his faith, his upbringings into his decisions. And again, his age factors into that because we look at it that this person that is in front of Judge Prince will be somebody that may be his age younger, and he understands that people deserve second chances when need be. And I think that's very important as a judge to understand in your mind and heart that people make mistakes and they do deserve to have a second chance. And Mr. Prince, I know that you will do just that. If you want to elaborate on there, you go right ahead.
I think that's something else I would add to my qualifications that you mentioned. I think not only can I, with my age, being able to relate to individuals who are younger who appear in the court, but I'm also able to relate to, or able to relate into, to interact well with those who are older. In my position at the North Carolina Industrial Commission, when I was the director of our claims program, I had a staff of 18, and
wow.
Everyone who was on my staff, they were at least 10 to 30 years older than me. And at that time, I believe I was 27 when I took over that role. So I had people from 35 to 65 who were working under me. And it's the same now at the administrative office of the courts. I have 14 direct reports, and some of them have direct reports as well. But all of them are older than me as well. At least by 5 to 10 years. So I feel like I'm able to relate to whoever's coming before me.
Those are big shoes to fill. Very intimidated. And some people wouldn't be able to do it to have folks that are older than them, which brings most times age brings more wisdom most times, right? Not in all cases, and also more experience. But you've been at that young age to rule over. I wouldn't say rule. What's the next one I'm looking for? Supervise. It's very important because you're going to have a lot of people that will probably be older than you, that even your colleagues. But that tells us that you're not intimidated. Neither are you taken aback. You are doing the job and you treat everybody fairly, not just from the bench, also in your leadership role. Very important. So I want to digress and move on from that. I want to ask you: should a judge show empathy, compassion when appropriate when they're ruling and deciding cases?
Yeah, I think a judge definitely should show compassion and empathy. There are a lot of cases. I mentioned the type of cases that are coming for district court judges. You're dealing with whether or not you're going to remove somebody's child from the house. You're dealing with parents who are fighting over child custody dispute, or you might have somebody who is dealing with or about to be evicted out of their home. So judges are human; they're people, so they're going to be emotions that they experience. However, I think the big thing is that you can't allow your emotions to rule how you ultimately rule. It's all about applying the facts of that case to what the law is. And so, some areas there's some discretion that you might have, other areas that you don't. I think you talked about the drug treatment course that we have throughout the state. So, we have in Wake County, we have two adult drug treatment courts. Had the opportunity a few months back just to kind of go in and observe those. And just sitting in there, I remember one of the cases, the individual had been in the program for about 18 months. Um, he had got to the end, but he wasn't completing the program. He was actually being kicked out of the program because he had been failing some drug tests and not meeting other obligations. Um, so it was one of the things where you could tell the judge didn't want to put him out, but
Mm-hmm.
something that she had to do. But at the same time, she showed that she cared about him. Let them know, hey, even though you're not graduating, think about where you've come from when you started this court. And I think that's some of the big things. I think my experience when I was working in the federal drug treatment court, just seeing the interaction between the judge and the participant, how when these individuals came in, they're struggling with substance abuse, is how kind of where their mindset was from day one to where they are 2 or 3 weeks in to the program, knowing that they have people, especially a judge, a prosecutor, a defense attorney, who are there, who are rooting for them, and they want to see them succeed. So I think that's something that is important for a judge to have, and to be able to show, but within the bounds of the law and the discretion that the law provides you.
I love that answer. Again, being in law enforcement almost 14 years now, serving in the Wake County Court as a some people call it bailiff, but deputy sheriff, listening to tons of cases from felony cases to DWI cases, from larceny cases. All those things you stated are very important as it pertains to what a judge needs to be able to do. Now, you kind of answered it, but segue into the next question. Do you believe that a judge should be able to apply the letter of the law within reason, that things they can step out the boundaries out of, which is not a whole lot when it comes to certain things, right? And do you believe that it should be done, because the title of the show is Fair and Impartial? What is your take on that, my friend?
Yeah, I think judges definitely have to follow whatever the law is, especially when the law is clear as to what it should be. When you're I think that's part of being a judge that's fair and impartial and being consistent. You want to ensure that, however you're ruling. So if you know somebody's coming before me, I rule one way. The next person who comes with the same exact facts, that I'm being consistent with how I rule. So you can't allow your emotions to dictate how you rule. You gotta put your own personal bias as much as you can. Put your own personal biases or preferences to the side. I think one of the things I've heard a lot, and I really believe, is that judges can't have a preferred outcome when hearing the case. Um, they have to go where the law leads them, and sometimes the law leads them to a decision that they don't want to make. Um, but being, I think that's the quality of a good judge is someone who's going to follow the law um, and apply it equally to everyone who's coming before them.
I love that. I love what you said. Sometimes you have to apply the law in decisions that you not really at that point in your mind want to make, but you know it is the law. And again, taking emotions out of it, because I find that in law enforcement, there's been many of times I've had to make an arrest or not make an arrest, even though in my mind I believed everything was legit or wasn't legit, either way. And the law stated, well, if you don't have enough, like you stated earlier, probable cause, you can't arrest, or vice versa. Having enough, but then understanding the backstory. So you can definitely say that within your line of work too. So we both have experience in that matter, and I know again because you are a personal friend, and I know not all about your heart, but I know your heart's pure and clean, and I do know that you would want to show some type of emotions, but keeping it to the fact that you stated has to be fair and impartial. Whatever the law allows you to do within reason, you'll do. So I want to piggyback off that.
Yeah,
Now, what?
and I'll also add. I mean, I think
Go
some
ahead.
of the courts. I mean, some of the courts lend yourself more to being able to show more of that empathy. And I think that's your drug treatment courts, but also dealing with your juvenile courts. The goals of your juvenile courts are a little different than they are in adult treatment courts. Here, that's one of the reasons why we have all the juvenile records are sealed.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get this just youth offender back on the right track. So I think that's kind of another one of the courts that you would try to show more empathy or kind of show more emotion to that youth defendant who's appearing before you. Um, to know that you're rooting for them, that you want to see them succeed, to be successful.
Because that's the main goal, and like we talked about, they deserve a second chance because that starts their adulthood, and we don't want anything to hold them back. Unfortunately, we saw something that was very, very disturbing to us on last Thursday here. Hit our state, hit the city of Raleigh, but it also hit the nation as we saw a mass shooter at the age of 15. So this is appropriate to talk about him being a juvenile, exactly what we're talking about here on the level of committing heinous murders, killing his own brother very brutally, from my understanding, more than what the news have told us. It was much worse than that. But this gentleman now, if he survives, he is looking towards being tried as an adult, and you have to take the fact that he's a juvenile and put it in the fact that he committed an adult crime, right, Judge? And so it's very whoever gets that case and rules and even the jury, that's going to be a lot of the process. And I think that's an appropriate question as it pertains to that. We talked about emotions a minute ago, but nobody will not be able to, from the judge to the attorneys, from the jury, to not have any emotion built in that case because we all watched it unfold. And whoever becomes the judge over that case, um, judge, who knows? It may be you. You just never know. Well, I know you're going to be at the district level, but you just never know. I know that it's going to take somebody who's got some guts and willpower to just block everything else out and listen to the facts of that case. And that's why this show is very important because the role that Mr. Prince is stepping in, and that's why I'm talking a lot about it, is very important that we choose the right people. Okay. And he is the chosen one for the Republican Party. And it's very important that we do that. It's not about the D and the R. I know we always talk about that. That's the party line. But at the end of the day, taking that out, you can't rule based on Democrat, Republican. And Mr. Prince, if you'd like to add or say something to that, by all
Yeah,
means.
I think that's being the impartial. I mean, when someone's standing before me, it's not are you a Republican, are you a Democrat, are you rich, are you poor? Those are things that judges should consider when they're issuing a ruling. Justice is supposed to be blind. You're supposed to treat equal justice for all. And yeah, yes, I'm a Republican, registered Republican, but I'll tell you that I have, Republicans who are supporting my campaigns. I have unaffiliated individuals who are supporting my campaign, and I have Democrats who are supporting my campaign as well. Democrats who, when I was going for the appointment process for the seat, who wrote letters to the governor on my behalf. So I have bipartisan support. So that's one thing I'm very, very proud about.
I'm very proud about it for you as well. It speaks a lot to your character. So great. And that's very important. And you hit it on the nail. That's the impartial part. Didn't even think of that. You hear this, everybody. You got a judge who is going to rule with brilliance as well, because all that plays a part. And you have to let's talk about it for just a second. Yes, you have a script to go by. You have the criminal law books and all that stuff, but you got to have brains. Let's just say you. I mean, I just got to call it out. You can't be a person who slid by or got by in law school, got out there and became a defense attorney somewhere and started your own little practice for a few weeks or years, and then decide you want to run for judge. That's not how it works. Most people, when they're doing that, and this is my personal thoughts, not Mr. Prince. I think when they're doing that, they're just looking at the prestige and the money of it. And in any job, you have to look past those things because there's always something within the heart that we do these jobs for. So, but you got to have brains. Got to have brains, Mr. Prince. And the listeners are listening to you. They understand that you do have that. Now, how is the campaign going, and how confident at this point, 2 days away from early voting, do you feel that on November the 8th, at some around that 8 o'clock hour or so, something like that, 8 p.m., you will find out that you are victorious. How are you feeling, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the campaign it's been going well. I've been trying to reach as many voters as I can within my district. Just trying to get my name out there. We got yard signs, running digital ads, done some door knocking, been to different forums and different events. So feeling good. I mean, I feel like I put the work in. Still have a lot more work to go. We got 17 days of early voting, so I'll be at the polls as much as I can. While also working a full time job. Um, so, in the evenings, on the weekends, be at the polls, and then, of course, on election day. Feeling good, but, it's kind of one of those things that you don't know until I think a lot of it will determine the turnout and who comes out to vote. And then kind of also what happens up the ballot. I think that has a lot of can have a lot of play or determination as to what happens with the lower ballot rates. But feeling good. I got my family support. I got family support. So I think those are the most important things for me, and just kind of just leaving it up into the Lord's hands. I feel like the year it's a year of triumph.
Oh
That's
yeah.
the theme at that church. So that's what I've been holding on to. The Lord will give me victory on November 8th.
It is a befitting um, topic for this year, the Upper Room Church of God in Christ, where you and I attend and your family. That this year's triumph year, because it is very important, because it will be triumph year. And to follow up with what you said, checking that down the ballot, if we continue to trend that a lot of the states are around the country are seeing a wave produced, we believe that things will work out great for you, and we know they will. But if it keeps on that track, you're in good hands, my friend. When it pertains to the campaign, you also mentioned that you're working a full time job, and I can also say, being a part of campaigns now, serving on Sheriff's Dunning campaign, which is a much larger campaign than what me and Randolph Beatty had in the first makings of running for sheriff. I did that exclusively for him because I knew he needed that help and support. But I can tell you, we both worked jobs and trying to make all these candidate events and answer these forums and be here, be there. It's tough. And so I told the listeners on the show that, listen, campaigning and running for any type of office, even though I wasn't physically running myself yet, but helping out, being that forefront, it is a lot of work, and you have to have a heart. You got to have your family has to be on board. And I always say this: if your family is not on board, if you're married, if your wife doesn't support, or vice versa, husband doesn't support, you have no campaign, because it starts with
Oh
family
yeah.
first.
Oh yeah, that's the difference here. I mean, when I was considering whether or not I was gonna run this year, some of the mentors I talked with, one of the first things they told me was, you need to talk to Chanel, talk to your wife, and make she's on board. Make sure that she's on board. And I'll tell you, she was on board from the jump. We prayed about it, and we did it. She's been right by my side the whole time. So parents have been helping out, siblings. We got two boys, so trying to juggle different events. Family has definitely stepped up to help us out.
Let me tell you something, man. If the weather's good on that day, and you probably have this in mind, I recommend you taking your boys, man, give them some flowers, let them just hand them out to people. That's going to go a long
Oh
way.
yeah, they're gonna be out there.
I know they are. I see. See, we think
I'm
alike.
putting them to work.
I know you are, and I know Chanel a bit. I know she won't have any other way because it starts early. Train them up, and so we're excited about it. I know your mother is helping out tremendously, been a very good part of your campaign. And
Oh
to
yes,
shout out to your camp. Go ahead, Dad. I'm sorry, brother.
yeah. I was gonna say whenever the boys. So when we were putting out the yard signs, the boys their daycare is in my district, and so they couldn't wait to put one of the yard signs out in front of the daycare. So they got out the car, help me beat it down, and so whenever we're driving around and they see one of my signs, they get excited and say, Daddy, there's your sign. So I have the support. My oldest son told my wife, he said, Mommy, I hope Daddy wins to be a judge, so he'll be happy.
Yes, because at the end of
My
the all,
boys are rooting for me. So.
that is it, man. That's amazing. Because at the end of all this, you do want to be happy, and then the happiest day is knowing when your name come across the screen that you won. But in all efforts, we do look at the other side of it. We know that at this time around it's not your time, which we notice is a year trying, but we also live in reality that we know you won't give up and it'll be stronger and better. But we're looking for this first time around. I've seen judges, you know, there's some judges that have made it the first time around, and we know you can do it. We are assured. And I'm like your sons. When I see a sign in the western portion of the county, I'm excited. I said, man, I know that guy. And so it's a big deal. And people, I tell you, jump on board because I can tell you putting out signs, campaign signs, very important, but try putting it out for the entire county. It's a lot of work. And
Oh
Mr.
yeah.
Asia is working hard. His wife's putting out signs, mom, friends, but all the help is needed because he still has a big area to cover. Even if you grab, I always tell people, you don't have to grab 30 signs. Even if you grab five, that is a huge difference. And put those signs in places where it is high traffic, areas where the grass is not really going to be disturbed much. Of course, if they're cutting that grass, that's a good sign. But keep in mind that those landscapers might pull it up. So you want to be familiar with those areas and put them where they're visible. Don't put them on highways where the speed limit is 80. You can't put them on the highway anyways, but don't put them when they're 80 miles an hour or 55 miles. It's going to be tough. People ain't looking at it. They're trying to get to their destination. Put them in the areas where they have to stop and take a look. That's my 2 cents in the campaign world as it pertains to grassroots things. But I got another question as we wrap up. Lastly, how can people help support your efforts in your campaign? We talked about a few, but if you want to go down the list, because campaign takes money. Can I just stop you for a moment and say this? Because I know it's very difficult for folks to ask for money, and I want to be that person. Sort of like how we do at church, right? You got to have somebody to raise that offer for you, huh? But I want to be very clear about this. Mr. Prince didn't ask this, but I know in campaigns you need money. And so, if anybody is willing to put their mouth where their money is, if you want to see change in Wake County, I know we got to get a new sheriff in there, but we also have to get great judges because when officers bring people into the jail and then they ultimately go to court, you need good judges that's going to rule for them. But no campaign is able to make it without funds. And at some point, Mr. Prince hadn't told me this, but I would imagine he's probably put some of his own money into this campaign. It's a lot of work. And he has two kids, and we're not begging, priming, but what we're doing is telling you to support this great effort. And I'm going to do the same. I'm not just talking about it. I know this is a big deal here on this platform, but I want to do a monetary gift before it's all said and done with as well. But we have to put money into this thing, and so support him. If you cannot put a yard sign out in your house or grab some and put them out, give them money. If you can't give money, get you some yard signs. If you can't get yard signs, volunteer to work one of the polls that are coming up starting this Thursday, no October the 20th. And Mr. Prince, I'll let you take it from there, my friend.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, I think that's one thing I learned real quickly was how much running a campaign, how much it costs. From ordering your palm cards to your yard signs to even just to file was $1,200. just a file to run. So yeah, so we've invested some of our own money into the campaign, and we also had some very generous donors who have been given, but we're still working on doing digital advertising, doing some sending out some text messages. So if anybody would be willing to donate, they can go to my website, which is princeforjudge.com. Donate through there. Any amount, large or small, they definitely help and really help us go towards victory on November 8th. Um, Additional donation. Our early voting here in North Carolina starts on Thursday, October 20th, and so I have 4 precincts in my district that I'm looking for coverage for. So I got 7 days. They're open from 8 to 7:30, Monday through Friday, and then Saturdays from 8 to 3, and Sundays from 1 to 6. So if anybody's willing to go even for an hour, I'll just hand out my palm cards. Please feel free to shoot me an email. My email address is asianprinceforjudge@gmail.com. Or you can reach out to me on through my Facebook page and let me know. Can get you linked up and let you know where we could need some help. And also spread the word. So even if you don't live in the district, well, if you live in my district, vote for me.
Yeah.
That's definitely help. But even if you don't live in the district, you can still to help. You got family, coworkers, friends, anyone that who lives in your district. Please let them know about my campaign and encourage them to vote for me. Every vote counts. And I know people think sometimes, well, does my vote really count? Yes, every vote counts. I think back in 2020, my Chief Justice Newby ran, and how he won by 401 votes. And so that was after a very thin margin, and that was after several recounts. So every vote goes, it helps. And then lastly, just prayer. That the Lord will just give us strategy, give us strength to finish this course, and just guidance and direction throughout.
Those things are very important, and I have a little influence in the Fuquay area. Again, I was a Fuquay cop there. Still have good ties with a wonderful business owner there. I'll make sure if you had not put your sign there yet in Bluegrass Bagels, we'll get you one in there. And I will be at our campaign headquarters tomorrow for Dunn Harrison. So if I need to grab any material while I'm there, I know you got plenty. But if you need me to grab something while I'm at the office tomorrow, let me know, and I'll put it in the car and make sure that
Oh
the
yeah,
folks
funny.
have
That's
it.
right. That's my district. So once you get to the Academy Street,
Mhm.
downtown. Once you get into downtown, that's kind of the end of my district in Fuquay. So, but yeah, definitely.
Okay.
That much appreciated.
That's definitely much appreciated. I know a few spots that I used during the primaries to put some signs out in Fuquay will be very much of importance. So you probably already done it, but we'll talk about it, and if not, we can get them there. But at the end of the day, Mr. Prince, unless you have anything else that you want to say about your wonderful campaign, oh, I know what I was going to tell you. Do you know those 4 districts by name that people can go to? Because I know it's all about strategy, and people want
Yeah,
to.
yeah. So the 4 places that we're putting out for early voting, where I'm focusing on within my district, is Apex at the Apex Community Center. There's in Cary, there's the Herb Young Community Center, the Cary Senior Center, and then the Hunt Center in Holly Springs.
Okay.
And then on election day, I got 26 precincts that I'll be looking to cover. So that'll be another day that if people are able to go out and help out, to definitely use help as well.
Yes, that's going to be a day from top to bottom. I mean, trust me. And you didn't have to run in the primaries. I don't think, did you,
I
Mr.
did not
Prince?
have a
Okay.
primary. No,
So I can
so
tell you that
that was a blessing.
that was a huge blessing for you. That day
Definitely.
started off very early, ended very late. But you know what? That's the most important day. So if any other day, be there for November the 8th if you can help work the polls. But I will say also from experience, what I've witnessed during the primaries, that a lot of people got their voting done in the early voting. So please lend your help to Mr. Prince
Yes,
during those times.
definitely. Yeah, that's where just looking at kind of the previous district court race that was here in this district back in 2020, that most of the votes were cast during the early voting, during that early voting time.
Beautiful. Mr. Prince, do you have anything else that you want to say as we wrap up with Real Talk today?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Antoine, for this opportunity. For the viewers, I hope that I've gained your support. You can learn more about me at princeforjudge.com. Also on Facebook, Prince for Judge. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. And Antoine, again, thank you for this opportunity.
I would be remiss if I didn't do it, my friend, and my brother, because I am a huge supporter from day one when you announced that. And you know what? I want to say it on air that it meant a lot to me that you reached out to me and a few others that you thought highly of to tell them about your bid to run for judge. And when you told me that, you said, keep me in your prayers. I'm deciding on where I should go. And I said, I know you'll get the answer. But I said, before we do all that, I know God's called you to this seat, and I believe you should do it. And after talks with God and your wife and family, you got that confirmation, and here you are today. So I'm excited to see your name come across that screen on November 8th, as well as Donnie Harrison. I know you already have a good relationship, so we look forward to working with you very soon, very soon. And again, it's my pleasure to have you on. Thank you for taking out the time. And I want to say, I wish you great success. I pray great success. You already know that. You have my full support. You have my family support. I know we're in Johnston County now, but I know my sister said she is definitely going to lend a hand. She's been telling all
Yeah,
her
she's
people,
already signed up. She's already signed up and she's donated.
and she's donated. Thank you.
Twice, actually. Donated twice. So.
That is wonderful. My sister's a great support. My mom and dad loves you. They're great supporters, and my sister, if you hadn't already, she wants her shirt. If she hadn't got it, she wants to be pristine out there.
I got one for it.
I know you do. I'm just throwing it out there. It's on the air now, so you got to get it. But we get ready. Go ahead, Asia.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely get that shirt.
I know you are. She's going to be out there. She's excited to be out there. And everybody else, you heard it first. The website's there for you to donate, sign up, be a part. This is all hands on deck. And again, Mr. Prince is running for Wake County Judge, District 10F, covers the western portion of the county. I know he can do it because he has the wherewith to do the job, and he will do it greatly. So I want to wrap up by saying we're going to leave it there. We're going to leave it there for tonight. And as I always do on Real Talk, Mr. Prince, I always leave people with these words of encouragement that I enjoyed bringing this particular episode to you. I'll even venture out to say one of the greatest episodes that I've ever done on Real Talk, even and despite the difficulty that we had trying to get this volume worked out. But I'm looking forward to people sharing and liking. I'm going to put it all over the platforms that I'm in. We want this to go everywhere. And Mr. Prince, you do the same. And I believe if we reach one, like I said on the show, we'll teach one. And I believe we reached a lot and we taught a lot today who didn't know exactly what a judge did. So now you know. Not only after you win, love to bring you on anytime you want to come on to this platform and talk about um, your career and where you go next and what are you doing, how's that going in the judgeship. Feel free. We'll open it up for you
Love to come back. Thank you. I appreciate it. Love to come back.
anytime you want. Looking forward to it. And I want to leave you with this, of course. I know soon, Mr. Asia, from what I heard, Mr. Evans stated that that podcast you and I were on at our church, the folk group, will be airing at some point. So make sure you all tune into that too. Mr. Prince and I had a pleasure to be special guests on that platform. And he spoke about his views from the Christian level, bringing it into the justice community. And so I loved it, and I can't wait till it's aired so you can see him. But you also had a chance now to hear it from the platform of Real Talk, all about his campaign. So as I get ready to wrap up, please stay tuned for the next episode of Real Talk. And again, I am your host, Officer Antoine Thomas. I always say it, we love it. But as I always do before I leave, I always ask that God will continue to bless this great nation as a whole, that we become better and we mend our broken relationships together. Even pray that God would bless our president and that God, this is a special time that you would definitely bless these midterm elections. It's very important. As Mr. Prince stated, everything matters in this election, and we have to vote the right people. Forget about the DNR. Vote conviction, but also vote right so you won't get left behind. And as I say this all the time, God, please continue to bless our armed forces and definitely bless the men in blue that are serving and across this great country in law enforcement. And until we meet again until the next episode. You have a good night, and we'll see you very soon. Take care.